Welcome to the Black Voice with Jay Clark. This will be a call-in show featuring you. Links will be provided on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for you to call in and send in questions, comments, and thoughts about current events with our people and, of course, about the show. After the unfortunate events that led to the death of George Floyd, there is nothing more important than community and togetherness. We're going to bridge the gap between young and old. Together, we will figure out a way to move forward after this tragedy. Love one another and tell one brother and one sister about the Black Voice with Jay Clark. We're going to do it the right way. Together, we rise. Welcome back to the Black Voice with Jay Clark. I am excited this week to share with you our first interview where I was joined by my brother, Mr. Charles Deloach, who gave us some great words, some great encouraging, but real words, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. And before we really kick things off, I want to give a special, a necessary, a glorious shout out to Mr. Keenan Love, man. This young man walked from Chicago off 83rd Street all the way to Kankakee, Illinois. If you are from the area, you know that is a distance, man. 46 miles in representation of 46 years that George Floyd walked this earth. And what a passionate, what a selfless move by Mr. Keenan Love. And I want that young man to know you a king, brother. You a king for the selfless display that you put out. You put the city on a map. You brought the city together. And through love and through selflessness, you made a powerful gesture, man, that I think is going to change, going to bring major change to the area of Kankakee, to the state of Illinois, you know what I mean, to the nation. That's the type of example that set, brother, and that cannot go unnoticed. So here on the Black Voice, we applaud you, Mr. Keenan Love, and we send much love and much praises your way. We thank you. Next, we will have the feature interview by Mr. Charles Deloach. Stay tuned. Together we rise. Welcome back to the Black Voice. Today I am joined by my man Chuck Deloach, Associate Pastor with Chicago City Life Center, community organizer, and young Black activist, man. Welcome, Chuck.
Man, I'm so glad to be on the show, man. Appreciate the opportunity. Jay Clark, you know, we go back to school and definitely appreciate this, man.
No doubt, man. It's an honor to have you, man. And just tell me, man, I know we feeling similarly, man. This is Monday morning after the big riot fest that happened Sunday night, coming into the day, man. How you feeling today, man? Talk to the people,
man. So you know, I'm a bit like I said, I'm overwhelmed, man. I rode down Hofstad yesterday, headed north, and started in Chicago Heights and made my way up to about 55th. And when I tell you, man, you know, I'm not much of a crier, but man, like, you know, tears just wanted to come down your face just to see just the stores that were attacked. And I seen so many folk in handcuffs and just people, man, running all over the place. People just vandalizing things. And I'm hurt, man. This is what it's come to with what we see in the country. So, yeah, man, it's, you know, I'm hurting, man, as a Black man, but I'm also optimistic, if that makes sense.
I feel it 100%. Definitely woke up today with similar ill feelings, a feeling of shock, a feeling of disbelief, man. I was on some of the platforms late last night and people were still rummaging up in Aurora. And I was even up 79th and Cottage Grove yesterday, up near Hyde Park area. Man, it was rough. Some of them
Man,
areas. It looked like a straight war zone, man. Like
man,
nothing to sugarcoat, straight war zone.
yeah,
But just to add to that, man, a lot of memes and things have been going around about MLK versus Malcolm X mentality, man. And at this point, I share something myself. I think even a guy like Martin Luther King and that mentality would be fed up at a point like this. So, in your mind, as a young black man who knows history, who is a future seeker, how do you feel with those two comparisons right now? Are they even relevant?
man.
You know what I mean?
That's a great question, bro. To be honest with you, I've like I said, I've always studied, those two guys and just how they went about certain things. But to be honest, America has shown us that no way works. it's
True.
it's so I think that's where a lot of people like me, you, especially a lot of faith leaders, man, are conflicted with right now. Is the fact that when you try to do it the peaceful way, you stand out on the balcony and get shot. But if you try to do it the hard way, you're gonna start a war and and end up killing a lot of people. And so, as a Christian, what I'm saying, I'm conflicted because I don't know what else to do. And I'm sure it's not just me. I'm sure it's a lot of other leaders who studied Dr. King, who studied Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and Colin Kaepernick, to be relevant, lost his job for taking a knee, bro. No harm. He didn't say anything that to infuse violence. He just did what he did. He protested. He stated why he was protesting. He asked others to join him peacefully. He used his platform wisely, bro. And America didn't like that. White people didn't like that. I'm not gonna say America. White people didn't like it, and almost caused another race war in the sense in which it did. And so, man, but the crazy thing about it is, and this is why we're conflicted, is that so much noise was made about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, but no noise from the white people. They're not making no noise about anything about George Floyd or anything like that, but they're making noise about the looting as well. So that's where the anger comes from. That's where the rioting is coming from. Is that people are picking and choosing what to speak out about. So.
And I can echo that as a PK, as a preacher kid. I got a firsthand account, man. Faith leaders are talking different, thinking different. And it goes back to, the primary purpose of our faith leaders, of our pastors in our community. They are the gatekeepers for our people.
Mm-hmm.
So when they see our people hurting, struggling, in despair, and they've been doing the same thing for the last 100, 200, 400 years, there's going to be change in their narrative. There's going to be change in their dialect and their verbals. Like, people are fed up, man, from the top down. And you see the people that are rioting and looting and et cetera. For this analogy, maybe people will consider those people to be towards the bottom of the totem pole, while our faith leaders are at the top. It doesn't matter where you land on this rank of life, whatever you want to call it. People are hurting, and they're going to act in whatever way they know how. And to add to that, man, a lot of people are saying, what's the point of the looting and this and that? And I'll say some people are destroying and some people are doing nothing. So all the positive things that we can bring to the light and that we can bring forward, I believe can truly offset, those people that are either destroying and taking away, or people that are just sitting on their hands doing nothing. So I want to encourage you, brother, as somebody in the community who I personally, we the same age, man, and I personally look up to you.
Oh, man.
Just the way you carry yourself, the positivity, the demeanor. That's something that I've taken from you, brother, in your walk and observing you, man.
Man, I appreciate that, bro.
No doubt, bro. You a stand-up dude, and we need more of that in the community. And I think as young leaders, given our platforms and the connections that we have, this is such a great opportunity to shed a positive light on the young black man.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I appreciate you being with me here today.
100%, bro. 100%, man. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this.
No doubt, man. How vital do you think the church is going to play on the rebuild? Because there's going to be a rebuild. How vital do you think the church's role is going to play in that?
Of course. You know, honestly, man, we're actually being proactive with it right now. Well, I would actually say reactive, but I've been in some meetings already, talking about what we need to do as a faith community with a younger generation of clergy. You know, not necessarily the older. And there's a young generation. There's a young generation of clergy in Chicago, particularly that is beginning to raise up, and we're not waiting for the clearance of the older clergy. What does that say? We're not saying that we're not neglecting them, but as to be honest, bro, all them folk that was looting were probably highest age was probably around 50, right? Maybe 40, you know. And so the folk that need to be heard are the ones who can relate. And so we're being proactive, man. We're seeing what we can do to provide help to all the businesses that were vandalized, but then also to make sure we put images out of us doing things, trying to show images of peace. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I think we hit the peak of violence. We hit the peak of looting. We hit the peak of rioting and things like that. Like, this was the peak of it. And so now, to diffuse it, the church has a responsibility, particularly the young church has a responsibility of being proactive with helping the businesses that have been vandalized. And so, I mean, that's the first step, really, man, is that we seen what happened yesterday. It's really to kind of reconstruct and doing whatever we can to help provide some type of insurance or services. And so, all that's in the works as I speak. So it's not all fleshed out yet, but we're looking to make moves ASAP. There's a march tomorrow, in Bronzeville, of the faith community of Chicago, and so that's a step. But then, yeah, man, we want to make sure that we're present as much as we can be, to really, in a sense, now stop the looting and stop the riot and trying to get people to stand in solidarity, but then also to understand that we can't tear up our stuff because we need our resources within the community. You got a lot of kids in Chicago today that won't eat because the CPS has shut down their food distribution for the day because of what happened yesterday. So you got a lot of kids right now in the city that won't eat today or this week. And so that's an issue that we need to be able to address, but then also provide action on. And so we're being proactive, man. And as I speak, it's all being fleshed out. Everything is being kind of built up and reconstructed as I speak. But that's what we're doing, man. As the faith community, I mean, I'm gonna say this on here. I'm tired of pastors, man, that's preaching on Sunday and shouting, but they can't do anything in community like this, you know. It was a post I saw that said, well, we need to stop over spiritualizing everything. You know, that when we spiritualize everything, man, we can't connect with what's going on the earth. And as preachers, the responsibility is to be in the gap between man and God. And how can we be in the gap between man and God if we're not in tune with humanity? And so the day is done for churches who are just sit on the corner just to have service. That day is over, bro. If your pastor isn't speaking on the things, if your pastor isn't shining light or trying to help the community rebuild or speak on what's going on, then that shouldn't be your pastor no more. You know, if your pastor has nothing to say about these things, but he was up preaching on Sunday shouting, it should be a pastor, man. Your pastor should have been able to shine light on these issues and address this issue in some type of manner and providing steps so that these issues can be reconstructed, man. And so, especially in Chicago, if your pastor did not say anything about it and all these communities and things have been vandalized around them where the resources of his parishioners are held, that shouldn't be a pastor. And I'm saying that, and I stand by that. So
I feel like,
yes,
brother,
sir.
keep it real,
Yes,
man. That's a
yes,
word.
sir.
That's a word. Hey, can you say anything, man, to the? And I asked my last guest if she could speak to the youth.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a different question, man. You saying you got the young brothers, the young clergy kind of organized and moving forward. What can you say to the elders, to the older generation who may not be able to relate with such a rebellious attitude that you see out of, the 20 somethings right now from the Black community?
Yeah, man. What I gotta say is just to let us be. And I don't mean to be like leave us alone, but to let us handle how we handle. I think too for so long you have the elderly trying to say y'all can't, we don't do it this way. Well, no, it's a different time. And we're not neglecting the way y'all did it. Listen, they did it the way that they did it back then. They had riots back then. They had marches. They had their way back then, but it's a new time. You got to think about it, man. So much is in the media that a lot of people, we're trained by what we see, and so in the sense to let us be, don't try to alter how we deal or handle these things because this is how we're handling it. And just because your words of saying this is how it needs to be done because it was done like this back in the day, is doing nothing. It's putting a sprinkle of water on a fire, in the sense to let us be, but then also, man, provide some type of wisdom and support. I think what we're missing from that elderly community is the support. You have a lot of people who are in positions now, has been in positions for years, and they're sitting on it because of pride. And because of the pride that they have, they don't want to let go, and they're killing a lot of organizations, a lot of churches, because they're sitting on pride, not sitting on urgency. And so you got a lot of young cats there, man, that are urgent, and that we're trying to do these things right now. We're trying to get these things done. And I think in a sense, the day is over, man. For, like I said, the day is over for those churches that just sit, not just churches, but organizations that just sit, man, and collect money. We need to be able to be holistically within our community. And so to the older crowd, we love you, we learn from you, and we want your support, but we don't want your biased opinions about how y'all did it, because we're not gonna listen to it. We're too far gone, and that doesn't mean we don't respect you. It just means that it's a new day, and we need to move forward with what's going on. Because, like I said, man, how they did it back in the day is fine, but it's 2020, bro. And what we need, and what we need is young minds who have the energy to take this thing, not just for 2 weeks, not just for a month, but to carry these things out for years. So that's what I have to say.
Absolutely. And I can echo that, man. I've had older relatives and older people, even with this podcast, man, telling me, it's the fear. It's the fear, and they're telling me sit down and don't do this and don't become a target. It's like, man, I tried to sit down. I'll be honest with you. I didn't necessarily want to put out the platform like this, but I know that there's a need for communication. There's a need for a bridge between young and old, and I couldn't figure out any other way to do it. So I felt obligated to be here, man.
Couldn't be a better time to do this, like this is relevant, man, like crazy. And I'm excited to see where this goes, man, and who this reaches, and just, how it expands, because it's a different day, bro. Man, it's a different day, and we need to really start moving forward. We need to stop talking about it. A lot of folk talking about it, but they ain't doing it, man. And so, like I said, man, we all about action. So.
No, man. Well, I appreciate you joining me, Chuck, once again.
Oh, man, appreciate the opportunity.
This is the Black Voice with Jay Clark, man. Chuck, definitely a great conversation. Dropped some gems for us, and we look forward to seeing what we can do in the community and move forward as young black men. Right on,
all right,
man.
My brother.
Thank you for tuning in to the Black Voice with Jay Clark. Remember, this show is about us, and ain't no us without you. To be featured on the show, go follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at BlackVoiceJ, and submit your thoughts and opinions at anchor.fm/BlackVoiceJ. We love to hear from you. There is power in numbers, there is power in communication, and together we shall surely rise. This is the Black Voice with Jay Clark. Peace.
Yes, I